go to gravesite, fold the flag, then we'd hand it to the next of kin. The firing party would fire the 21-gun salute. And every day we had 5-6 funerals because that was the worst time for casualties for the Army in 68 and 69. I got drafted 2 weeks after the Tet Offensive. I came out as Sergeant E5. I was in the 3rd Infantry Regiment, the Honor Guard, out of Arlington National Cemetery in 1968 and 1969. I graduated El Rancho High School in 1965, class of 65. During the Vietnam War, 7 classmates from the class of 1965, El Rancho High School, died as a result of the Vietnam War. Great guys, and I'll name them off. Sam Favada, Tim Nunnally, Raymond Reese, Gilbert Salazar, John Stalter, Michael Shelley, and Richard Whiting. 7 of my classmates were killed in Vietnam, and it's something that has been dear to me to keep their memory alive. They were just great guys. They were just cool guys, as the term that you would use then and now. Some of them I went to junior high, North Park, all the way to graduation. And I was assigned to the Honor Guard, and the primary duties were doing the burials for those that were killed in Vietnam in Arlington National Cemetery. We would carry the body, put it up on the caisson, and take it along. It was carried by the caisson with the horses that you see on TV when a dignitary passes away. That was the worst year for casualties. So I have carried that with me my whole life, and I've always thought about the fact that they've only reached 18, 19, maybe 20 years old, and here I am about to celebrate my 77th birthday in July. I volunteered at about 8 different cities over the last 10, 15 years doing what's going to be happening here for Memorial Day weekend. I work as a volunteer, and what I do is help people find the name of their loved one up on the wall. So that's what drives me. It's not that I feel that I'm doing anything special. It's just something that, because firsthand I saw the families was the hardest part of the services for them, and continuing on, even after I've got out of the military. Here at Pico Rivera, the ceremonies that are done on Memorial Day and on Veterans Day are done so well and so respectful. And I've had the opportunity to meet relatives of my 7 classmates that were killed in Vietnam. For instance, Chuck Stalter, his brother John. We went from North Park all the way to graduation. It's ongoing in my mind of how tragic it was to lose such great young men. Sometimes I think of them walking the halls of El Rancho like I did, and then realizing that they never had lived a long life. The time that I was in Arlington, and but by the grace of, I don't know who decided to pick me to go there. I was assigned to the infantry. I was my military MOS 11 Bravo infantry, and I thought for sure I was going to go to Vietnam because I got drafted, like I say, during the worst times there. And in my company, about 100 and something, everybody went to Vietnam. The 6 of us sent us to the Honor Guard in Arlington. I've met a couple of a mother, Bill Whiting. I met Bill Whiting, whose son Richard was killed in Vietnam. I met him here at one of the ceremonies years back. He since has passed on. He was a World War II Navy veteran, and I got to know him very, very well. And whenever I talked to him at the ceremonies, my heart just ached for him, for knowing what had happened, losing his son. Tim Nunley, I'm in contact with his wife. They were high school sweethearts. Francine Balo, she lives in Utah now, and he was killed, and I don't think he ever saw his son. She had a son whose memory, I'm sure, he does not have of his father. So all those individual stories, they're just something that drives me to continue to keep their memory alive. We had our 50th anniversary of our graduation, and we honored our 7, and it was just a sad thing when they put their pictures up on the wall for everybody from our class to see, and the fact that all of us were there 50 years later after graduation, and they were just a memory. So as long as I can still move about and carry on, I will continue to do this. I actually went, when I was at the Vietnam Wall, the real Vietnam Wall, my unit, we placed a wreath there at the wall, and I took my picture of the 7 and laid it there also at the real wall. So it is a honor for me to be part of this and to remember them. Nowadays people, or even younger generation, they don't realize what went on during those times. To them, that's just distance past, if they even know anything about it. Sometimes somebody will ask me when I'm wearing something, well, what did you do? And I explain to them, and they kind of look, having a confused look in their face. And I don't know what they teach, in school anymore, what the curriculum is. Do they touch on the Vietnam War? I don't know. I guess I'm a one-man campaign to always talk about it if someone asks me. And like this, I'm honored to be part of this, even though I didn't go to Vietnam. Like most of your interviewees you're going to have did experience Vietnam. Freshman year, I was totally overwhelmed by that high school experience. I was pretty much just a bookworm. I wasn't a big social person. So when I got to El Rancho my freshman years, my eyes were like, oh my goodness. Of course, and then when you see the seniors at the senior quad and these big hulking football players, and I thought, oh my God, what am I doing here? But I had my little niche here. It was mostly academics. I never was big enough to play anything at a varsity level. I did play at the lower levels, sports, little basketball and football. But the first person I really remember was Sam Favada, who was one of the 7. I remembered vividly in a PE class, our instructor was Mr. Keogh, and he put us all in a circle at the baseball field. And you had to go in the middle of the pitcher's mound and wrestle someone. Well, he picked Sam Favada, and we wrestled ourselves till we couldn't even breathe anymore. And we both crawled back to our position as everybody's watching. I'll never forget that. And Sam, over the years, Sam, he grew real big and strong, and starting varsity football player, very good. And in fact, we kind of had a little competition because in freshman year, Coach Ernie Johnson was our PE instructor, and he would watch us play football, and he would pick out, hey, you should, stay away from the girls and come and play football for the school. And I would have loved to, but I never grew. I was 165, I think, when I got out of high school. And Sam, he grew up and he played varsity football, and he was. But that's one of the most vivid things I always remember is us just wrestling our till we couldn't even breathe. It was just a great time, the innocent times. I started in '62, I think was my freshman year. Just no. The thing that brought us to reality was JFK's assassination. We were in an assembly in the gym because we were having a CIF football game that night, and I don't know if it was the principal came to the microphone and made the announcement that John Kennedy had been shot, and I still can remember the gasp from 800, 900 students in the gym, and it was the dead silence for 15, 20 seconds, and then you could hear sobbing start from the individuals, and that's another memory I'll never forget, the announcement of his assassination. And that was kind of burst the bubble of the early 60s, fun, surfing, USA and all that. And we realized that, the world was not perfect. And then that eventually rolled up into the start of the Vietnam War. In my senior year, we all knew that there was a war starting, and we didn't know what our place was going to be in it. But when we graduated, some of the 7, they went voluntarily. They signed right off, and I think Richard Whiting and John Stalter went together. Myself, I have to thank my father. He was in the Navy, and he saw some things in some of the invasions in the Pacific, and he always said to himself, I do not want my son to have to go through something like this. So he wanted me to join the Navy, which would have been safer, but I told Dad, I think I'd rather, kind of roll the dice and get drafted for 2 instead of going to the Navy for 4. And so that's what I did. And the grace of God, I got lucky. But that let's say the Kennedy was the era of a Camelot, but what that assassination changed everything for all of us, for so many of us. The war, I was lucky. I went to school. I got a deferment. I wanted to go to school because my dad said, I want you to go to school. I want you to go to school. He wouldn't even let me get a job in high school because all my friends had cars and they had to get a part-time job to, for upkeep. He said, no, you're going to go to school. You're going to study. So up to my senior year, I walked down to the end of the block and jumped on the school bus and all my friends are going by in their cars. But they had to work afterwards, and couldn't concentrate on their studies. So I thank my dad for that. He had a vision that he wanted his son to get an education, and if is all possible, not have to be involved in any kind of a conflict. So I went to East Los Angeles College for 2 years, got an AA, and then I looked out on the block and I looked around. I said, "There's nobody here, and everybody's gone." I said, "I guess it's time for me," and I didn't transfer over. I just said, "Let him come get me." And then, and then one more thing from my parents. My dad was 5'8", my mom was like 5'5", and I told Dad, "You know what? I'm real lucky that I ended up in the honor guard, because you had to be at least 5'10". Well, I came in at 5'11", and you had to be a good person. You had to be a good citizen." They did Secret Service did a background check on me. They came and went to my schools and interviewed teachers to see what kind of character I had, because if you had any kind of a record, boom, you were not going to be in the honor guard. You were going to end up, walking point someplace in the Central Highlands in Vietnam. So I thank my dad, thank Mom somehow. I don't know how you guys got me up to 5'11", but thank you so much. That's just, it's some of the things I remember. And high school was, I remember in '65, when we're on the brink of going out into the world, into the possibilities of war, that we would have discussions in class. I had some amazing teachers. My education at El Rancho was superior to anything I learned later on from other people. I was in team teaching classes, and that helped me with going on and get my AA, and then qualifying to be put in a position where I would be standing from here to there to President Nixon at a ceremony. And it was just an amazing time for me. I look back on it, and I have, sometimes they'd say you have called survivor's guilt. That why was I lucky? Why didn't I go to Vietnam? Why was my friends? Why did they die? Or the ones that did go, why did they still continue to suffer PTSD after they got back? And that's just the way it was. Maybe somebody up there like me. I don't know, but I'm thankful that I'm here to discuss. One of the most vivid memories for me personally was the day I got drafted. My mom did not go with my dad, my sister, and my girlfriend at the time to downtown LA to get drafted and hop on that bus to Fort Ord. She said, because I will break down, I will cry. So the last thing I remember is her on the porch, just waving goodbye as we drove off. And she and my dad had gotten married in the middle of World War II, in October 1943. He was home on leave from the Navy, and they got married. She was 18, he was 22, and I thought, my poor mom is going to go through this again, because she had no idea what was going to happen to my dad. And luckily, he saw some things that he, like I say, he didn't want his son to have to go through. But that's one of the things that of course, my mom was not the only one to experience that. So many other mothers and fathers experiencing their sons going off and not knowing what their fate would become. But that's just something that I still can't forget is my poor mama having to go through my dad being gone, and then me being gone before. We never knew where I was going to end up. I assumed Vietnam, and I remember the day I got the orders that I was going to the honor guard, and I called my mama and I told her, Mom, I'm not going to Vietnam. And I could just hear her just start crying on the other end of the phone. You know, it was, I still had not been drafted. I didn't get drafted until 1968. I think Sam was killed or died before I was drafted. So the good old Pico Rivera Green Sheet, the local newspaper, would publish whenever someone from the city was killed. And that's probably how I first heard of it, or maybe someone called me and said, hey, Sam, you died from as a result of the Vietnam War. But I remember, and not just my friends, but the other citizens or young men from our city who died before I ever even got drafted in '68, that I would see that it was like almost every week somebody was an article of them having died in Vietnam. And it was, but with Sam, I'm sure I was still here. I probably even went to his services, because after so many years, sometimes your mind doesn't remember every detail. But I do remember he had twin brothers, the Favara boys. I met one of them one time at one of the ceremonies here, and Sam was just a good, fun guy, just happy-go-lucky, and he always remembered the fact when we were freshmen all the way to senior. He was always just so kind and friendly with me. Hey Joe, how you doing? Just always smiling. And to think that personality, that vibrant life that he had was taken, and along with the others, it just something that to me is just unfair. Fair. The politics about pro or con of the Vietnam War, that could be argued forever. But for me, it's a personal thing of the loss of these great guys, and not just my 7, but all of the residents of the city that didn't have a chance to even get married or have kids or become grandfathers. That's what saddens me, and the fact that their families, their loss, how over the years. There's another young man. He was not my class, but he was a year or 2 after. I think he knew my sister. His name was George Juarez. He was 18 years old. I think it was class of '66 or '67. He was 18 years old when he was killed. My sister was very good friends with him. My sister was class of '68, and I met his mother at the Traveling Wall in Rose Hills, and I did not know her. And I was working, helping people find, and she came up to me and she says, "Can you help me find my son's name on the wall?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." And I said, "What is your son's name?" And she told me, she says, "George Juarez." And I just froze, just like, oh my God. I mean, I knew George. I'm not as good as my sister did, but and she was clutching a picture of him. I said 8 by 10, and I said, "Yes, ma'am, I will take you." And so she put her arm around me, and I escorted her, and we found George's name on the wall, and it was just such a sad moment to see a grieving mother who lost her son, and he was only 18 years old. Things like that, that's what drives me to be here, and I've already signed up to do 4 days when the wall's here, doing the same thing, helping people find their loved one, and maybe have a chance encounter with an actual relative of someone that I knew. So it's a traumatic time. It was, and it continues for some of us, for many of us. Many more have more, memories of that time because they were in Vietnam. Me, I viewed myself as just being a product of the war and the need for providing what we did in Arlington to see them to their final resting place. The names on there, I'm sure there's, I don't know how many I carried to their final resting place, but they're on that wall, and I honored them, and along with my classmates.